Hey, it's Jaylen Bledsoe, and this week, the chaos with Good and Callaway, the golf brands, and the nonsense over at Target makes me think a lot about the challenges that marketers, that business leaders have with understanding what it means to build and manage and police a brand. We often obsess in the context of branding of colors and fonts, what's the logo, the typography, the brand guide. But these really are not the brand. They're brand assets. The brand is a feeling, an experience, the association that people have with it. I think a lot about the seasons as a child that I can go back to in my head that had distinct smells. Christmas, or my grandmother's home, that sweet aroma that if I smell it a day, I think about sitting on that couch or at that table with my great-grandmother. It's the sounds, the experience. We know what it means to go into a 2011, 2013 Abercrombie store. Those aren't about a logo or a color palette. They're the things that we've experienced enough to bring and build associations in our brain with it. That's how a brand actually works. Brand is an accumulated set of expectations, associations, emotions, experiences, beliefs that people attach to a person, a product, or an organization, which means we can't completely control it, but we can influence it because ultimately the brand exists in someone else's mind. Marketing is just one tool that we use to influence the brand. Advertising influences, social media influences it, PR influences it, our logo, the color, but so does our customer service, employees, stores, products, pricing, how we respond when something goes wrong, the experience that someone has when someone from marketing is not around. Now, culture. Culture is the collection of a shared value, norms, behaviors, incentives, assumptions, tolerances that determine how people inside an organization actually behave when no one is around to tell you what to do or how to engage. And this is where I think most companies get into trouble. You can create a 200 or 500 page brand guide. You can specify the exact Pantone color, the font, the photography, the tone of voice. You can dictate how many pixels must be to the left and right of a logo and how to use a logo in various colors. But you cannot create a rule for every decision that every employee is going to make every point of the day. Someone is going to make a social media post. Someone's going to choose a product. Someone's going to project an advertisement on the side of a building. Someone's going to respond to an upset customer. Someone's going to make a joke, and someone's going to make a decision in a meeting where the CEO, CMO, or brand team is or is not sitting or is paying attention or is not paying attention. Culture becomes the brand guideline when the brand team is not inside the room. That Good and Callaway commercial. We can debate the intent of it and the comedic intent from people who wrote it. But I'm actually more interested in how this idea goes to the public, how it evolves. Because one person ideated it and they thought it was okay. Someone heard it and thought it was okay. Someone developed it and thought it was okay. Someone approved it and thought it was okay. Someone produced it and thought it was okay. Someone published it and thought it was okay. At some point, this stops being about the judgment of one person. It's about the collective movement of an organization or an agency that decided that this was okay. And that's where marketing starts to tell us something about culture. When we talk about company culture, we tend to think about the values on the website, the words on the screens when you walk into the headquarters, the employee handbook, the CEO town hall. But culture is also the collection of beliefs that an organization implicitly believes, rewards, tolerates, or simply doesn't notice. The jokes they make that are okay, that aren't corrected. See, Callaway may not have ever put something on the screen that said, this is what we believe. They didn't have to. And this is not saying that they believe it as an organization, but there is an underlying cultural challenge that believed that it was okay. Somehow this idea traveled through enough of the organization without creating enough friction to stop it. That's the cultural signal that we must explore, that we must examine, that we must challenge. And this is why diversity inside an organization really does matter. Not diversity as a box-checking exercise or federal mandate, but diversity of thought. Those differences can produce meaningfully different perspectives. Diversity can't stop at what everyone looks like in the room. It's how they see it. It helps us to examine everything that we put out through different lenses to identify blind spots that one or two people may have. You need someone in the room who is willing and able to say, I don't think this lands the way you think it lands. This is not about being difficult or being challenging. It's about looking at the values of the organization to ensure that those values are projected or portrayed in what we create and what we produce, what commercials or advertisements are published. And I would say the absence of disagreement inside the building can eventually lead to these major blowups where now the world disagrees with you as an organization for your cultural beliefs that have leaked out. That's why when a company has one of these moments and everyone on the internet asks who approved this, I think it's less about this question, because it's not about one approver. It's because someone proposed it, someone reviewed it, someone designed it, someone produced it, someone released it, someone published it. How did this make it through that many people out the door to being seen on social media or on the side of a building? When I think about marketing, when I think about branding, we must understand, what does your organization value? What does it tolerate? Who feels empowered to say this is not right, this does not feel right? Who's in the room? What perspectives aren't in the room? Which ones are not in the room? What gets rewarded? What gets ignored? And what has become so normal that no one even notices it anymore? Sometimes what looks like marketing failure is actually an organizational failure that became visible in marketing. Marketing didn't necessarily create the problem. It amplified a cultural challenge because eventually culture leaks into the brand. And this is not about just companies that get it wrong. Think about the companies that are consistent in getting it right. The experience feels like them. The product feels like them. The store feels like them. The customer service feels like them. Their marketing feels like them. How they respond to chaos feels like them for all the possible reasons. That's almost impossible to accomplish by policing every decision. It's not about what the board dictates in a room. It's about making consistent decisions on a consistent culture that operates with integrity, that operates in a way that is right because it's right. And that rightness is what bleeds out to what appears on social. It's remembering that colors are not the brand. Font is not the brand. Logo is not the brand. They're just multipliers. They're just assets. They're assets of the brand, which all of this gets multiplied in how we influence someone's perception of our brand. Your brand is the meaning that people have attached to it because of your consistency in the experience they have with it. Those experiences are created by people. Those people's decisions are shaped by culture. So if you really want to protect the brand, you can't just manage the marketing. You have to manage and create a culture that produces it. And I think this is one of the challenges that we most have wrong as marketers, as brand leaders, as business leaders, is we believe that the brand is what it looks like in a brand guide and not how it plays out when the brand guide is not in the room to police everything that we do. I hope this provided a moment, an ounce, a percent of value to the people who needed to hear it as you're building your organization and growing your organization and thinking about how you market and build the brand. And that really is building a healthy internal culture as an organization. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you soon.